everyone, and welcome to a new project that Wildly Free is developing with the amazing Natasha Kenton. And I'm so excited to introduce you to the first curator outside of myself of an amazing anthology that Wildly Free is going to produce to publish all of the things, and we are releasing it next year. And today is all about introducing you to Natasha, the curator, which I have the honor of knowing for many, many years, and also introducing the title of it, which is called Now We Speak. But first, let's get to know Natasha a little bit. Thank you, Natasha, for joining us. How are you today?
Yeah, thank you. I'm doing really well. Just enjoying my summer that started a few days ago. So,
Yay! Well, let's hop into what is Now We Speak. Can you tell us a little bit about the project?
yeah, so Now We Speak is centered all around those silent stories that so many of us hold in that have experienced infertility. I have years of infertility before we did have a son, but we experienced 4 years of that. So I started a blog to write kind of about that, and then you know life happens and things move on, and we actually just experienced a pretty big loss a couple weeks ago, and that kind of fueled me to start this movement. And I reached out to Rachelle, and Now We Speak was born.
Yay, I love that. I just feel so honored that you trusted us with just you were in the rawness of everything that happened, and that's when you reached out. And I think that that speaks volumes in terms of the heart behind all of this. And so you touched a little bit about, what sparked it, why does this project matter to you personally outside of, your own experiences? Why does it matter for you to invite other people to join you with this?
I think like as we experienced our journey and walked those paths, I just came in contact with so many other people. So many other people would message me and send me private messages, comment on my post, that they also have experienced infertility and have a story. And it was just the number of people and how many there are, that really surprised me. And even like close people to me, like I we see the statistics of infertility, and it's the big 1 in 6 is like the big number. And I mean, I just thought about the other day, like close friends and family members, and 50% of them have experienced it. So it just seems so much more prevalent than we actually are told with the numbers and the statistics. So yeah, I want to really invite those people, anybody, any story, in, and it's important to me to help them feel empowered enough to share their story, because it is hard. And I didn't start writing just to become, like an author or start a blog. I started writing to help me process through what I was experiencing. And that has really helped me. And then it led into a blog, and now it's led into a book. So I'm hoping that, other people that have similar stories might want to take that leap to start writing, and then hopefully be a part of this book and this movement too.
Yeah, writing is so cathartic, and I know that I've learned that in my own journey and how Wildly Free Publishing was born was to be a space for that cathartic outlet, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's something that's ever shared or not. And with that, there's so many conversations around that. So, what conversations are you hoping this book will spark, not only just in this community, but to the many, many people that pick up the book and read it and talk about it? What conversations are you hoping happen through that?
Um, I hope that there can be some, I don't know if it's necessarily more conversations or just like more understanding of how many people around you may be struggling. Maybe it can shift some conversations, going through infertility. I'm sure anybody that has experienced conversations that were really uncomfortable, questions that came that, you wish you could answer honestly, but you don't. So I hope that these conversations that can spark from this book can just be more raw and more thoughtful, as far as approaching just thoughts and conversations with people that you may not know have experienced infertility, but you don't know. Anybody you could come across on the street could have a story. And for me, it's very important to not ask specific questions and to frame conversations when, others are ready to share. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
whatever comes from your heart. That's why we're here. We're just sharing your heart. Why
Yeah.
do
And
you
I do hope it does create, a sense of community. Like, just in the short time that I've been like a part of the Wildly Free community and family, I like to think of it, as like a really like a family and just a safe space. So I hope that people can feel comfortable, joining that space and feeling okay to step into that space too, as far as conversations within the book.
Yeah. Why do you believe now is the right time for this type of message?
Um, I don't know that there are, I think we kind of talked about it. There's really like a collection like this out there for people, like when we were really in the trenches of our journey. I ordered a couple books, but it's just, I feel like the right time because there isn't necessarily something like this out there. A collection of stories you could maybe connect to multiple, and it's not just like one journey, one story. And well, if that doesn't apply to me or it doesn't feel like my story, it might not be something that people would be interested in. So I think, yes, that's like my thinking around that.
I love that. And I think that that's the power of anthologies as a whole, which is something that, like, that's where my journey began. And it was being able to connect with one story, multiple stories, but also have the perspective of different walks of life. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
it's important that, like, when you're in that space, it doesn't have to be the same story, but it's also that, like, you're not alone. And it doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
have all of the same outcomes or the same struggles or anything like that. But I think it's just so important to collectively have a voice so that multiple people can benefit from it. I know that, being a memoir writer and, not everyone could connect to my exact journey, but talking about elements that anybody could connect with was why I added so much in my book in terms of, so that multiple people, because I think it's always important that like who is your audience. And
Mm-hmm.
so with that, who is this book for?
I do think, with obviously the people that are a part of this book, I think, close friends and family members are going to be one of the first to pick it up and read it. But this book is really for all of those out there that are, struggling still and not telling their story. Maybe it can help them want to maybe later tell their story. Just like you said earlier, just help them feel like they're not alone. I wish I could have picked up a book like this when I was going through everything we went through for 4 years. And then even, later, like you mentioned, like all outcomes are welcome. And, some people that I've reached out to and have spoke with don't have a child yet. And there's some that really have experienced secondary infertility, people that are adopting, like all stories, we want to give everybody a voice. I want to give everybody a voice to be part of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so infertility, I'm learning because I didn't even realize this until you came to us and started talking about it, is that infertility is defined not solely on like the outcome, but the
Mm-hmm.
experience of the struggle. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that it's important for us to share on here that, you know, for me personally, I was like, is there a story, even though, you might have like a million kids, or is
Mm-hmm.
the, outcome all about just like, oh, we don't have children, or, all of
Mm-hmm.
that. And I think that the spectrum of it all is something that I would love to share in this space because
Mhm.
creating an invitation for multiple voices to be, in this collection, who do you think would be a great fit for this anthology?
I mean, anybody that has a story, really. I mean, that has struggled with infertility. I mean, I've talked to some people and they're like, "Well, my story's not good enough." Well, that's not. There's no such thing as not a good enough story, because it is just so hard and such a struggle, and it changes you as a person, physically and emotionally. Can totally like slam doors in your face that you weren't expecting to come, and um, yeah, I just hope that there are all stories, all outcomes are welcome within this space.
Yeah,
So
I know we've
want to
got.
make sure. Sorry,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, similar to what you said earlier, just making sure to make everybody feel like they have a voice, because it is. I mean, infertility is infertility. It's not. It doesn't fit in a box. It's very complex, and like you said, a spectrum. That I mean, I don't know, probably 10 plus different types of stories of people that I know personally with their infertility journey. And a lot of them don't, really share, and unless they, somebody like me that is sharing, then they'll like reach out separately and connect. But I do wish and I hope that others that are experiencing this feel empowered to share, because I think it's just there's just so many people and so many women and couples out there that have struggled with this, and I just want to make sure that they all have a voice.
I love that. I think it's so important that we normalize this conversation because
Mm-hmm.
I know in my almost 48 years, these are not conversations that are normalized.
Mm-hmm.
And even just in a group of women, even if somebody knows the struggle, nobody really wants to talk about it, or there's like a shame of sorts. I mean, there's just so many like layers as a woman around
Mm-hmm.
this. And there's stories I know that like it's not necessarily even the woman who might have infertility,
Mm-hmm.
struggles that it might be the husband, but because of that, they had to go down certain roads. Or I know we've been in a lot of conversations with a lot of different women over the last couple of weeks, and it's been like, well, why should I share my story? Because I ended up never having children. And I think that that's talking about like your story is enough. Your
Mm-hmm.
story, you don't need to be like a professional writer. That's why you have, a support system like Wildly Free in terms of just like getting it out and then having that support to make sure that it's in your voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important for us to touch on the fact that, a lot of people don't share their story because they don't even know where to start. And just knowing that like this community is going to be surrounded with the support of like, how do I start? We've developed 50 questions
Mm-hmm.
that you don't even know about yet, but as soon as somebody, says, yes, I want to be a contributor, we're going to send out like all of that support of like sitting in that space. And I think that it's so important that it's not just writing about it, but it's like also honoring and taking that time to just sit with yourself, with your story. And I know that
Mm-hmm.
that's so important in all spectrums, in all realms of storytelling. And then even having our Monday night writing hour, where
Mm-hmm.
it's a really neat community of people that are
Mm-hmm.
just doing their own thing and just creating those invitations to just say, my voice matters. And I love that you've brought that up a few times
Mm-hmm.
on this. And with that, it's talking about like, even if you just have that little voice in the back of your head, I think I might want to. I think it's important for you all who are listening to know that reaching out to Natasha or to
Mm-hmm.
myself and just starting the conversation, that there's no pressure
Mm-hmm.
in terms of that. So, I think that I would love to touch on what makes this anthology experience different from simply writing alone. I know we touched about it a bit, but I would love to hear like how you're stepping into creating this community from going from your blogs to now writing the book and how this is just going to be a totally different experience with, you're sharing your heart and you're the leader in all of this in terms of being the first to say yes to it. What do you hope the outcome of just building this community? I know we have a lot of women that are saying, I'm really busy. And, so
Mhm.
we're like shifting it a little bit from the wildly free experience. And that's what's so important is that we took like the feedback that you got with, I want to just show up and share my story, but I don't know if I have all the time for all the extra stuff.
Mhm.
So, what do you hope this community becomes going from Natasha blog posting to Natasha curating a book? Can you share your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping. I mean, I feel like that I have like a little like hidden community of all the people that I've, contacted and talked to throughout the last few years, as far as infertility. And I just hope that this can be a space that ends up being like people that you can lean on, people that you feel, okay to talk with or have those similar struggles with you and you just connect with them. I mean, I talked with one of the girls I talked to. She was actually a part of, I've never like gone to therapy about anything that I've gone through, but she like joined this therapy group and then it was like this community developed and it was a local thing. So then they like met up and they have like connected and stayed in touch with each other. And I really do hope that this can be similar to that and that we, are in this movement together and we're, sharing our stories together and hopefully I'm sure that we'll have, connections and similarities or just being there really for each other and having everybody feel like they are seen and that their story is valid and that they don't feel as alone, in sharing their voice and stepping into this movement is really what I hope it can be. Just creating more of a space, more of a safe space. I know you mentioned the writing hour, and there have been a couple people that they're like, I just don't think I'm ready. I'm like, well, you should. I mean, it's very cathartic to write. And even if they're not writing, I'm like, you should just hop on for the writing hour. Like, no strings attached. Just step into the space. I kind of see what it's wildly free is all about. Because it really is like when I get on there on Mondays when I'm able to come, it's just like so great to have that space. And the music that you guys play is just so empowering and motivating and inspiring. So I hope I can create that community among all the contributors.
I love that. Well, we've talked about sharing the story. What do you think the risks are of staying silent in this space and not sharing your story?
Um, I mean, definitely like feelings of loneliness. Although that you're not alone, but I mean, like I said earlier, I just feel like writing and talking to other people is so helpful and cathartic that um, the risks of not stepping in and keeping that inside is maybe the feelings of not, feeling like your story matters or feeling like you have a voice, or feeling like you have other women that are in the same, situation or, really like the trenches of infertility that you feel like maybe you're just there alone. So I would say that would be the biggest risk is just continuing to just feel that loneliness.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. So when this book becomes wildly successful, what impact would you hope it has? I know you've talked about certain spaces of like donating the book
Mhm.
and like places that you would like to speak in, all of those spaces. So this book is not only about the impact of each individual contributor and
Mhm.
the impact it has on you, but what do you hope it has an impact on this subject in this community of infertility as a whole?
I hope that as a whole, it can help people to just hopefully just keep going. And, I know not everybody's story ends the way that they want it to. But I really do hope that it can create that, inspiration for others to just keep pushing, and then also having them feel like there are other people out there experiencing these horrible things that I've also experienced. And I know that you kind of mentioned like what I would like to do as far as like donating like proceeds and all of that. But I do think it could also be powerful to like get this to people that like went to the same clinics as me, like localized, like I was a patient there, and this is what I've done, and I would love for those people and those people, that are in the trenches of infertility to be able to pick it up, while they're in it too, like just to help them a little, through their journey a little bit.
Yeah, I think infertility clinics would be like a great place
Mm-hmm.
to drop off some
Yeah.
copies. I love that. So, for everybody listening, they're feeling that tug that we just talked about a little bit ago. When they feel called to be a part of this book, what do you think they should do next?
I mean, if we haven't been talking yet, definitely feel free to always reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk with you. And I know that sending information or reading information on social media sometimes is like, well, what does this all mean? I feel like those, connections with people and those conversations really can help you to better understand and just get a feel for, why I'm doing this, and why it's an anthology, and why I would like a collection of stories for others to be able to read and hopefully connect with. So yeah, if you're feeling that little nudge, then I would, happy to talk. Social media, I'm on lots of those.
Yeah, we'll provide all of
Just
that information for sure.
yeah,
And you just started Substack, so that's kind of
yeah,
exciting.
yes, yeah. I'm still trying to learn all of that. I was on started on WordPress for my blog, and that's still up and not like totally updated for my bio, but all of my old blogs are there. And now I'm on Substack, and it's a really great space. If you're not on Substack, I would recommend you can get on there, and then you can. It's just a great space that's very inspiring. It's not filled with like ads or things you don't want to see. It's only what you want to read about. So yes, I am on Substack, so I can also be found there.
Yay. I can't wait to share all of that. Well, as we end this, what's one final message you'd like to share with potential contributors, whether or just women in general that are listening to this, whether they contribute or not? What is one final message you'd like to share from your heart today?
Um, I think just thinking about, why I started this book and why I started writing in the first place. If you have struggled with infertility, a message from me to you would just be start writing, really. I mean, start writing, putting it down on whatever you can, just to getting things out really just helps so much. And I hope that maybe if you start doing that, then you would maybe like to share part of your story with us, in this book and as part of this anthology. And Now We Speak is when we came up with that name, it's just so empowering, because it's like for so long, and even in my last blog post, I was like, I don't remember thinking about or hearing about this growing up, but I'm sure it was there, and I'm sure that so many people have stories that we haven't heard of. But now I feel like this is just the time that we need to push out those stories, start to come out of the silence, and really just make everybody aware, what we've gone through, and then maybe that can empower others to also share some of their story as well.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Natasha, for spending time sharing
Yes.
your heart. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will provide all of those connection pieces for Natasha as well as me, so that you can reach out to become a part of this first book, because I believe that this will definitely be a series of books. And for the first one, we are just looking for brave women who want to share their story. And we also want to give you permission that you don't have to have your name connected to it. I think that that's really important. A story is a story, but it doesn't have to be connected. I want to respect everybody's privacy. But if it is something that you want to share publicly with your name and all of that, but I don't want there to be any roadblocks for these stories to be told. So let's start the conversation, whether it's with me, Natasha, both of us together. We've done a few of those. Let's just get these out. And I feel that now is the time to really empower women to be okay, to not be okay, and to talk about it and know that they're not alone. So, again, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Natasha. And we look forward to hearing from you and just being in the space together. We will be kicking it off probably in July of 2026. But people are welcome all the way up to the end of August to join the community. We'll be releasing the book, I believe, in the end of April, beginning of May of 2027. So it's about a year. And we're just really excited to hear you say yes and start supporting you and writing your story to be in this book. So thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.